Okay, so hello everybody. I think we're live. I think we're live, but there's always a delay on Facebook. So, and there we are. Yay, we did
Yay!
it. So, I was just sharing with Amilie that this is the first time that this is the second time I've used Be Live, but it is the first time that I've actually scheduled it to be able to come on. So we were actually testing out some new gadgets and some new little things because Zoom and Facebook have not been friends lately, or at least not for me, or at least not consistently. So I was trying to come up with an alternative. So this is the alternative. We're going to see how it goes. So I'm going to take off this message that says I'm new to Be Live. Let's see it. Yay, and it took it off too. So Amilie does not see the same thing that we see. So I'm going to say Amilie because that's what her name is. Instead of butchering it in English, I'm going just because I am French, so I can actually pronounce it correctly. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, I just really hate it when we have these people that are actually saying French names and like just butchering it." So
Yes,
Amélie,
thank you.
Amélie is joining us here. So welcome, Amélie. And so today is Monday Whispers Chat. Although here in Canada, we are on a holiday. It is our Victoria Day. And I know that the States, I think, is next Monday is their holiday. But this is our Victoria Day weekend. So thank you very much, Amélie, for being here despite the holiday. So Amélie was scheduled a couple of months ago, and then something happened, and then you guys ended up hearing me talk by myself because I couldn't find somebody to replace her at the last minute, which is good. It was fine. Emergencies happen, and we just kind of roll with the punches and just kind of go with it. And so I'm really glad and excited that she's actually here today.
I'm
So
so excited.
so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a description as to who Emily is. And so today is Monday Whispers Chat. And so each week we actually feature an amazing and inspiring woman. And today it is Amélie. And so Amélie is the founder of Mystical Journey. She has been gifted tools by healers, teachers, and mentors. She has journeyed through the Radiant Women's Circle training, as well as participated in a sacred sister mastermind by her teacher and her coach, Sora. I know I can't pronounce her last name.
Sora Surya No.
I love Sora. I follow Sora. And she accompanied by Tiffany Scott, who is a successful branding and business explorer leader. So not only is Amilie following her calling in holistic healing, she also pursues a public position. She commits her daily schedule to shine her light and bring balance in her administrative role. She devotes her hard efforts for future and of her two gems that has allowed her to explore an infinite amount of emotions, adventures, and obstacles, and to take risks. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, is there anything else based on, like, other than the description that I read? Is there anything else that you wanted to be able to?
You summed it up in a nutshell. Thank you for that.
Well, and I actually can't take credit because those were Emily's words. So I read, so I read them. So I am really excited to be able to have another Northerner join me. So Emily is from Timmins, Ontario, which is 3 hours north of us. And that is my birth town. So that is where I was born and raised until I was 10. And then I moved down. Then I moved to the south. So I'm in southern northeastern Ontario, and she's up in the north of northeastern Ontario. So welcome, Amélie. So
Thank you.
tell me a little bit about your adventure. What are some of the things that has led you to this path?
So it all started, of course, after having my beautiful gems. And so my journey started about 6 years ago. And I was having a really hard time trying to identify where I fit into this world and what my purpose was. And I knew that I wasn't just a mom. And I went through a really dark moment. I actually suffered with postpartum depression, and I let it go for 15 months, and went untreated. So I actually seek some help for myself. I put my foot down, and I reached out to my community. So I found some great relationships there in the community. And I actually met with this reverend, and I'll never forget her face. And she's the one who introduced me to spirituality. And at first, I'm not kidding, I was like, what is this? Like, this is some other cult. This is some sort of like weird thing that people are trying to get me into. And I don't know if this is for me. So I went back home and I had a moment, and I decided to pick up one of the books that she had recommended. And when I opened the first page and I read the first sentence, I immediately started to cry. And I had shivers all over my body, and I knew that this is the journey that I needed to be on. So it started there. And then through that, I met some amazing people, teachers, friends. I encountered some relationships that made me realize who I truly am and my strength. I went upon some relationships that taught me values, lessons, some good relationships, bad relationships. And I feel like all of this, in a nutshell, kind of brought me to where I am today. And that is helping other women to find their purpose, to identify good and bad relationships, and not only good and bad relationships with the world, but with themselves. And to help not only moms and single moms and working moms, but all the women, the future moms, or past moms, to be together. And that's my greatest my mission, is to bring all of these women together. And not only women, men too, because we're all incredible beings. And if we take all of our layers off, we're all the same inside. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, and I love the fact that you were able to find yourself in that journey. And being in that depression or in that depressive state is a difficult and lonely place. And so, so for those of you who are in that position, like, there is help out there. And so whether it is connecting with spirituality, or if it is connecting with some other way of being able to do things, like, you're not alone. So don't feel like you're alone, and reach out and find somebody. And if that one person that you connect with isn't the right person, then find somebody different. So just for anybody, just because we have a lot of people, especially, I think it's happening a little bit better right now just because the weather has shifted a lot, but especially for those of us up in the north, it is a really difficult time for a lot of people, but we've had a lot of gray skies. I'm not sure how you guys have been up in.
Yeah, pretty much the same.
So we're having lots of gray, cold weather instead of the warm spring weather that we should be having. And so we had a couple of weeks. And then,
we got lucky.
Yeah, and so now it's like back to being gray and raining, and which is good, right? So we need the rain, we need to be able to wash away the snow. But again, those dark times is something that is really important for people to be able to connect with. So thank you very much for sharing. So we've got Pamela St. George, who is on, and she says, awesome delight. And so so obviously one of your followers. So welcome, Pamela. So as we're having a conversation, and as we're going through things, if you are catching the replay, #replay, Amilie and I will both be able to come back in and answer any questions. So if you guys have any questions for Amilie, she'll actually be able to get in there. And so so now you talked about the about where it is that it all began. And so so tell me, can you give me a little bit of an idea of, like, where did this path take you? So it started with one person. So where did this path take you? Like, where did you go? How did you get there?
So as I mentioned, like I said, I met some incredible teachers, and that first teacher was Sora. And what happened was, I seen this ad on Facebook. Thank you, Facebook, because Facebook has brought upon amazing, gifted people into my world. And so I seen this training. It was a women's circle training, an intensive circle training. It was a 3-day training in Toronto. I didn't know anybody in Toronto, so I was like really scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea what to expect, but I knew I needed to be there. And so I started really feeling these things in my gut. And I wasn't sure what these feelings were. And I just knew that going there would help me understand some of these things. So I attended this circle training, and it feel like it changed my entire world. It prepared me. It gave me tools to work on myself and to identify my goals, my intentions, and manifesting my dreams. So my journey did not end there. What I did is I took this training and I brought it here into our community. And I started holding space for women in our community. And I still remember the first circle. I was like, no one's going to show up. No one's going to take me seriously. I think I was like 24 or 25. And I was like, I'm too young for this. No one's going to take me seriously. And 6 women showed up. And it was more than what I expected. And that was just the starting point of holding space for women. So I knew that each space I wanted to create something safe and something that I desired as well, and something that I truly experienced when I was in my training. It was that sacredness, that support, that feeling like you belong somewhere. And that's, I think, something that a lot of women feel like they need to belong somewhere. And this space identified that for me, was that I felt like I belonged there. So then through that, I met some great teachers, and locally I met with, I'm sure if you're familiar with Francine Judd. She's an amazing local Reiki healer here, and she does a lot of card readings. She's very well known for her card readings here in Timmins. And so her and I met up, and she offered me my first Reiki level 1 attunement. And at first I wasn't sure what it was and how it was going to impact my life. But it opened so many doors. And then I started connecting with more and more people. And then the community started growing. And then here I am today. It's 3 years, almost 4 years into holding sacred space. And I've grown such a community of amazing and empowering women. And watching these women grow in their own lives and how they've transformed has allowed me to transform myself.
That's really incredible, and no, I'm not familiar with her, and so, but she sounds like she's incredible. I do know Sora, so even though I can't pronounce her last name, but she is incredible, and so I have participated in some of her free programs. I haven't joined in her. So I'm in one of her groups, and she's amazing, and I love her energy, and she's definitely a delight. And she puts on some amazing retreats. And now bringing it up to the north, like you said, like how are people going to be coming up and coming in, and like are people going to be coming and joining us? And so that is always a huge fear for those of us who are up in the north, like down in Toronto area, down in the southern parts of Ontario. There's lots of different activities, and there's lots of different ways of being able to do this. And that is one of the reasons why I started Monday Whispers Chat, was so that I can actually help to connect with some really inspiring women, because although this is where I am, is that the women are coming in from all over the world, and so being able to connect and have us connect with other people. So like I said, this is amazing that I was able to get you to be able to join us from the north. We've had a couple of ladies from the north as well, which is great. And some people are businesswomen, some are not. So, and it's just about that powerful conversation about what it is that we want to be able to empower ourselves and each other with. So these are, and we need to be able to connect with us in terms of women. And so I'm going to get a little bit techie, not techie, but techie's not the right word. Like everything that's happening with the abortion statement, right? So again, there's and again, it's like, it's not my choice or not somebody else's choice. Like, it's like, so for me personally, I would not use abortion, but again, I'm not sure in the different circumstances where I would be or not be. And so, but just where I am in most cases, it would not happen for me. However, it's still somebody else's choice. And so, but the part of it that is really frightening and really alarming is the women who are actually degrading the women who make these choices. And so that is just really heart-wrenching. It's like we all have that opportunity and all have that ability of making our own choices. And like I said, it breaks my heart. And so political was the word that I was actually trying to figure out. Like, what word am I looking for? But it's just, but it's that, and I think that that's really important, just based on where things are at right now with what's going on in the States, is that that's the supporting, that's support. Ugh, my goodness, is that part of supporting each other, right? So being able to support each other, which is no matter what our belief systems are,
That's
and no
right.
matter what it is that's going on, and so and oftentimes I have people that'll say, oh, okay, well, you've got into spirituality. When they first said that, it was kind of like, no, I'm not. I'm not into spirituality, because spirituality to me meant religion, right? So it was like, no, I'm not getting into any kind of religion stuff. I'm I'm a growing up Roman Catholic, like French Roman Catholic. So like, yeah, no, I'm not doing any religious stuff. And they're like, oh, no, spirituality. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then as I got to kind of explore a little bit more, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I am spiritual. But I, same as the way that, and I know that from following you and knowing things, is that it's not about a specific religion. It's not about a specific part of things. So can you talk a little bit about that?
For sure. Because we all, like you said earlier, we all have a choice, right? So we all have a choice to follow whatever we want. And for me, is the biggest thing for my clients is they need to have faith. Whether you have faith in a form of religion, whether you have faith that your God is the sun, or the God is the earth, or the God is the water, or that you don't believe in God, or that you believe in God, or you believe in Jesus. That is your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And my choice is to believe in myself and to believe in others. And some people always tell me, you trust too much, or you love too much, because I believe I have faith. And I think that's what's important, is that we need to have faith in whatever it is,
Yep.
and not to judge each other for believing what we believe. And I can just think of an example, and I think it's funny, and I love my aunt to pieces. And if she's watching this, I love you. I just remember when I separated from my ex-husband of 11 years, my aunt said to my mom, and I don't practice witchcraft. So she says to my mom, she says, is it Amilie's witchcraft that made her do these things? And it just made me laugh, because even if it was, it is my choice, right? And that
Yep.
is what I would believe in. But anyhow, it's just like there's judgment, and we need to let go of the judgment and allow people to just live in any aspects that they want or they choose, or to believe in whatever, and to simply have faith. Have faith in something, guys. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you have faith that the feathers are going to fall from the sky, or you can have faith that your bubble gum's going to make you happy. Just have faith.
Yep.
So yeah.
And I love that, right? So, and that was one of my biggest fears, right? So when I first started with being able to tap into what my spirituality was, because it's not that I don't believe in the Catholic Church or in the things that I've actually been taught. Those brought me great comfort over the years, and the things that I needed at the time. But I've kind of grown from some of the things, because not everything within that particular religion is something that I believe, and it doesn't make me wrong, and it doesn't make me right. And so, but it's just doesn't fit within my own belief system. And things have shifted a lot since I was a kid as well, in terms of some of the things that are believed and that kind of thing. And again, it depends on the priest and all that kind of thing. So we had one priest who there was somebody that I had gone to a funeral for, and they had actually committed suicide. And within the Catholic Church, that's like a huge faux pas. Like, you were not allowed to commit suicide. Like, you're now damned to hell, that kind of thing. And so, but the family still insisted on having a Catholic funeral. And so I'm like, oh, this should be really interesting. Like, how's that going to go? Like, this is just going to be, and the priest was absolutely amazing. And one of the things that he said, which really helped me to really tap into my faith, because this is something that I believe, is that this particular priest said, although it is said that some people will say that he's going to go to hell because he committed suicide. However, providing as he's asked for forgiveness, God will invite him back into the heavens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is just because it was something that it was like, oh my God, how are we going to go to this? Because that is something that I've always believed, is that whatever your God is, whoever it is, however it is, whatever that belief is for you, is that he's good, or she's good, or it's good. And it's not about condemning people. It's about that love that you were talking about, right? It's that love and loving yourself and respecting yourself. So Pamela says, how powerful would it be if women support each other? And
Mm,
that is so true.
absolutely.
And we are not the judge. Like, so true. Like, these things are so important, but we as humans have decided that
The
that we shouldn't,
ego.
right? So
The
we should.
ego.
So, and it makes it difficult, right? So it is not something that it is not our responsibility to judge. It is not, obviously we need to go with the things that we believe and how it fits for us, but it's not about us judging, because it's not about us. It's about whoever it is that is in that circle and whatever
That's
it is.
right.
So,
That's
um,
right.
so, so tell me a little bit more about some of the circles that you offer. Like, what do you do? How do you do them? Like, how does this work for you?
I love talking circle. I love it. As you can see, as soon as I talk about circle, my cheeks get all like warm and fuzzy. So every circle is different. It comes to me like literally like the weeks coming up before. Sometimes I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, and a lot of times I take my own experiences and things that I'm going through and I incorporate into circles. So a lot of it is a lot about connecting together. So there are some group activities and some pairing stuff. And it's a lot about coming together, and we each offer our own medicine. And so what I love about circles is the way that everything flows, and each person that shows up is meant to be there. And I always say people, oh, well, I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it this time, or I really wanted to come. I'm just not sure. Well, because it wasn't your time. You weren't needed in that space. So each space is sacred. Each space is safe, and it's a non-judgment. And it's a space where women can completely empty themselves and feel supported. And I think that's what I love the most, is being supported, is feeling like you belong. And I like to do a lot of things where we like inspire or like ignite our intuition. So I take out my oracle cards and I make them. So this is like, usually I do this at the end of each circle, is I pair everybody up and I get them to pick a card from the oracle deck, and I have them do a reading using their intuition, the first thing that pops into their mind, the first thing they see, hear, or smell, and allowing them to use their inner power to give their sister a reading, a loving message for them to take home. So I've done things from like wishing jars. I usually do those at the beginning of the year so we can like we can watch our dreams unfold throughout the year. One of my other favorite activities was the juju dolls. And I don't know if you've heard of those before. So I remember the first time when I came out with it in a circle, I had like these eyes like, what is this? Because they kind of look like voodoo dolls. But juju, so good juju, right? Like I've
Yeah.
heard the term, I need some good juju to get me through this exam.
Yeah.
So these juju dolls were these dolls we created with yarn. And every time we looped the yarn, we either sent a blessing or a wish. And then once the juju doll was completed, it was this cute little yarny thing, and it could be any color, and the colors could represent something if you wanted to. And then we would bless the dolls. And then you can hang it on your altar, or you can hang it. I have mine in my car, so it protects me every time I'm on road trips. I love it. And it just gives like some really cool, funky thing to my car, and I get these like eyes that look back. What is that thing hanging from her car?
Well, and especially if people think automatically voodoo dolls, right?
Exactly,
So
but it's
it's,
complete opposite.
yeah.
And actually, while I was working on this specific subject for this circle, I did a lot of research because I like to research things before I bring it into my circles. because I don't know everything. That's one thing I tell people is I'm not a know-it-all, but I like to learn. And I'm like a sponge. I like to absorb things. So I did some research actually on the voodoo doll, and it's not even what we we think it is, right? There's always that misconception. We see things in movies and we quickly associate that that is the way it is, but it's not. They use voodoo dolls not to hurt people, because we know that in the world of karma, if you send harm, you're going to get harm back.
Yeah.
So it's actually, they use it a lot with medicine and healing people. And so if someone had pain in their back, they would create a voodoo doll and send some energy to the back or whatever area of the person. Or if someone was having emotional healing or emotional problems, they would send healing and so on. So I thought that was really interesting. And when I was sharing that in the group, they were kind of like, oh, yeah. So I like bringing new things into the circles and sharing the knowledge and learning. I also learn from each sister that attends the circle as well.
And I really love that. So like I have never attended anything that Amilie has done. However, I do hold my own circles. And that is one of the things that when I first started my circles, they were chakra dance circles because I'm a chakra dance facilitator. And so, but then as we're kind of going along is that they kind of shifted. They shifted to being something different. And so depending on what my instinct tells me to do for that circle.
Yes.
So like we have a theme for each one of the weeks, and each one has to do with the cycle of the moon. So where's the cycle of the moon? So the theme is kind of around that. But if so I'll have an idea of like, okay, this is what it is that we're probably going to do. But then if something tells me that we need to do something different, then I do something different. I'll bring my cards, I'll do different things like that. And so when you're talking about like doing the pulling the oracle cards, is that's what we did in our circle this morning. And so we actually so everybody had the opportunity to be able to share what it was that was actually going on for them. And then even for those who were actually not physically in our circle, we still pulled cards and we recorded it, so that way the girls still have that opportunity to be able to, because this is my virtual circle. So like obviously I don't record my in-person circles, but my virtual circle, and then it went out to the women so that they can still have their message that came through today, just based on that. So the very first time that I got not the first time I got my new cards, but I got some new cards that had come in and I was like really excited about them. And so then I
love getting new cards.
I brought them to my mom's because my mom comes to our circles, to our physical circles. And so I brought them to my mom's and I'm like, Mom, look at this new deck. And like we were going through it, and we were actually going through, I think it was my Moonology deck. And so we were going through it. And then shortly after that, because you're talking about movies. And so my dad says he's watching TV and there's like a gypsy, right, on the show. And so my dad says, oh, is that what Rollie's going to do? Is she going to be gypsy? And my mom's like, I don't think so.
Oh, that's too funny.
Right? But it's like, again, those misconceptions of what is it that's going on and what is it that's happening. And so, yes, I do use tarot cards or oracle cards, or there's nothing in terms of the messages that come forward that are good or bad. It's just whatever message that people need to hear. And so today, for example, one of the ladies that was supposed to be coming to our circle, she didn't make it today for whatever reason. And again, it's like that space, right? So whoever's supposed to be there. But one of the first things that I did, and I had a private session with her later about something else. And so, but one of the very first cards that came up was, I think it was the 5 of Wands, but whatever card it was like everything was just spiraling and there was just a whole bunch of things. And I haven't talked to her in a week or so, like maybe a couple of days less than that, but I haven't really talked to her. So I don't know what it is that's going on in her life and whatever. And so the very first part of the conversation was, oh my God, everything's just going all over the place. And like, I feel like I'm spiraling, and I'm like, oh, the card that we recorded, you'll have to actually go back and read the card. But it's like the cards just come up just based on whatever messages that people need to. Like, even though I didn't know that was going on in her life, it was like, I knew that that's what was going on in her life, right? Without even knowing that that's what was happening. And so, so the oracle cards are just a way of being able to tap into your intuition And it's not, okay, these are like really negative, or at least it's not for me. So I don't want to
No,
pass judgment on anybody who believes that those are
exactly.
negative, because that if that's your belief, then that's your belief. But at the same time, don't condemn the people who have a different belief. Right. So, so Pam says, I'm not sure if she goes by Pam or Pamela, so I should probably just stick with Pam.
Pam.
She goes with Pam too. Okay, good. So we are here to love and serve each other is the other part of the message that she has. And you're right. We are
That's so
here
beautiful.
together. Right. So, and so those are things. And I, like I said, I love the fact that and probably one of the reasons why we've connected in different circles as well is because I don't really know Amilie much other than like a few comments or things like that that I've seen, or I now follow her page and that kind of thing. But it's but a lot of the things are very similar to the things that you actually talk about, right? So it's that that connection. So
Absolutely.
I love that. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to connect, especially with you being in the north, for
Yes,
us
and
to.
I saw you're coming to Timmins.
I am. So I'm coming to Timmins to do Reboot Your Base,
Yes.
which is, so I'm really excited to be doing that as well. I'm doing 6 of them. So it's a chakra dance program. It's a licensed chakra dance program. So it is the same program, each one, but obviously there might be a little bit of a spin or a little bit of a difference based on whoever it is that's attending the circle. So, but it's, and one of the things that, so typically men do not participate in the things that I offer, just not for any other reason other than, but I do not turn them away.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's my retreat, then obviously we're sleeping all in the same cabin. Men are
Yeah,
not.
no.
But anything else that I offer that we don't have that like that really intimate part of things is that men are allowed to come. And so I'm really excited that I have my first man that is actually coming to one of the workshops. So super excited that he's
I'm
going to be there.
excited for you.
And he's like,
It's a good feeling.
yeah,
Because it's like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
that's okay. No, this is great.
What I had my first male attend one of my, so I offer also chakra workshops on the side and then meditation series. And the first time I had actually 2 of them signed up for the chakra. And it kind of gave me some sort of like bigger inspiration that the world is awakening and that it's not just for women, this stuff, and it's
Yeah.
for everyone. And it just kind of made me feel like excited that these men were here and that they were kind of like the stepping stone for the next generation of men coming forth. So I'm really excited for you because it's a really inspiring feeling.
Well, like I said, I'm really excited. So one of the things that he said is like, I know that you don't do that men don't typically come to, and I'm like, not because I don't want them, just they choose not to come. Like other than a full moon circle, because that's one of the other ones is the full moon circle is specifically for women.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if men wanted to be able to participate, we would be able to do something that would look different, right? So it wouldn't have to necessarily be a full moon circle. If men wanted to participate, then I would adjust, and just because like that would be because we've got that yin and yang, right? We've got that male female, and
Yes,
everybody of us does, right? So like every part of it,
exactly.
and so just really important for us to be able to do that. So
And it brings a good balance to the group. I
yeah,
noticed the balance was a lot different than holding space for just women. It was
yeah.
a really I don't know, it was just like this weird dynamic, like, but it was a good dynamic. It was awesome.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. He's participated in some other things that I've done. So like really specifically excited about the balancing one to doing with Reboot Your Base. So yeah, so like really excited about that. And so Pam says like attracts like, and you're so right, right? So that's how we grow communities. That's how we
Yes.
actually connect. So that kind of leads me into the whole point of your conversation. The whole point of jumping on today was about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit more about the relationships.
So it's really important for us to have relationships in our lives, right? So whether we have intimate relationships, friendships, or relationships with our parents, our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents, relationship we have with our children or grandchildren, they all bring some sort of value into our lives. And I feel that the benefits to having these relationships, we feel less stress. We tend to feel more alive, and we have a better support system. We feel supported. We don't feel alone. And there's so many ways that we can identify healthy relationships that we can trust, right? There's that trust is so important. And when we don't have that trust, well, then there's no relationship. Um, we have a way of communicating. There's just that communication that just comes so freely and so openly, right? It's about being open and fully communicating all of our emotions and not being judged. And that's so important in relationships. And so for me, relationships in my life, so a lot of the things that I talk about and I share are my own experiences. And and I don't really share a lot of my personal things. So a lot of things that I'm going to say, and I really hope if anybody is watching, especially if my family is watching, I love you. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. However, some of these relationships in my family have taught me a lot of valuable lessons and has taught me things to be on the lookout for how I want my relationships to be. And that the first thing is, as I mentioned a while ago, was trust. And so for me, in trusting relationship has been really difficult. I was married for 11 years and there was a lack of trust there. And that was really hard to live because it made me sick, right? It made me stress. I wasn't healthy in my mind, in my body, like my whole physical body and my emotional body was ill. I pulled myself away from other relationships because I was failing in this relationship due to the trust. And so everything has a domino effect. If we surround ourselves with a bad relationship, it kind of reflects itself in our other relationships. So it's just like identifying those relationships that are good for you and the ones that are bad for you. Excuse me. And when we have, sorry, and those healthy relationships are things that we can, or relationships that we can easily engage in. And the ones that feel like they mean something, they're meaningful. And those are the things that I take back, that I take a lot, is that meaningful relationships. So I've encountered through this journey some really meaningful people, and which have, once they were strangers and now they're a huge benefit to my growth. And of course to their growth as well, because we can always benefit from each other. And that's what we want, is we want to grow together and walk alongside each other, and not one in front of each other, one behind each other. We want to walk alongside each other. So, yeah, those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about, was the benefits of relationships, how it can really reduce the stress level in your life, and how it can make you feel supported. How you can have a greater sense of purpose, right? Because you have someone who believes in you. We all deserve someone who believes in us. And that for a very long time, I felt like I didn't deserve that. I felt like I wasn't going to have someone who believed in me. But then I realized something, that I was the key here, okay? I didn't really need relationships with everybody else or anybody with, which, mind you, I do need these relationships. They do benefit from them and I do take value from them. However, that first relationship that we all need to have is with ourselves. So I started taking myself out on dates. And I remember the first time, which was really easy because it was in Toronto. And I didn't know anybody there. So I could have went to the restaurant alone, and I wasn't why is Am sitting at the restaurant alone, if I would have done that locally. So it was really easy for me to do that. And then I carried that through back home. And so I started doing things for myself, like taking myself out, trying new things, and building that relationship with myself. And that happened a lot. That happened after my separation, because I felt I was alone. It was just me. So I needed to make that relationship with myself again, build that relationship. So that's the first thing that we should be doing, is building our relationship with ourselves. And then once we build our relationship with ourselves, then we can build those relationship with others. And then once I was able to build that relationship with myself, that's when all of those meaningful relationships came. Now, there are some relationships that came through that still tested me, but because I needed them, right? I needed them to teach me something. But then they taught me how to identify and listen to my gut. You know that feeling you have like right here under like your solar plexus area that's like, oh, this is
Yeah.
just not right. So having that relationship with myself allowed me to really listen to the cues of my body to once I was in those relationships with others.
And I like that you pointed out that gut reaction and how these relationships come and go, and sometimes, and this is one of the things in having worked in mental health for such a long time, one of the things that I've had clients that have struggled with and that I've struggled with is that, oh, well, they're family, so they should be in my life, right? And so we really struggle with that at times. And just because they are family, or just because there's like no shoulds, it's about what it is that's best for you. And
That's right.
sometimes taking a step back away from those relationships, or setting very strict, very clear boundaries around those relationships is something that's really important for us to
For
be able to
sure.
do. And so it's just without doing it from because I know that there's some people that I know that will cut these relationships out, but then they're doing it from a very angry, negative
Yes.
perspective. And so then you're not helping that relationship, and you're not providing yourself with that growth as well. Being able to separate and set those boundaries, but not at the expense of being nasty to someone else.
Right.
And so, because otherwise you're just kind of like offsetting what it is that you're trying to do, right?
And it's
So
difficult. I find it's a difficult thing to have to identify when you need to set that boundary for yourself because like
yeah.
you said, especially with family, it's you feel like your heart is being pulled, right? But then again, what's at stake here? That's how I see it. So for example, and like I like to share my personal experience and my own experiences when I share stories. So I have a really difficult relationship with my father, and I've had to, in the last, I would say, year and a half, have to set boundaries because I don't want to put myself in a situation where I knew that I would have to work hard to not feel betrayed or not feel sad.
Yeah.
So I put a stop to it. But when I do things, I express myself, and I learned throughout my journey how to express myself with it being my feelings. And if someone cannot accept that to me, then that's that's their choice, right? That's how they choose to react. And so for me, my choice to react is instead of holding judgment or holding resentment is forgiving. Even though we don't want to, sometimes it's really hard, but forgiving those relationships that causes pain for us to grow. And I always say it's not for their satisfaction. I say that often. It's not for the satisfaction that they're like, haha, I'm right and you were wrong. No, it's for the benefit of your growth and your
Yeah.
relationship with yourself. And so I had to do that. And I just, and it's sad. It's hard, but we have to set boundaries for ourselves and protect our being because who else is going to do it? We need to do
Yeah.
it.
And exactly, like if you do not do something for yourself, then who else is going to? If you don't look after yourself and you don't make sure that those things are going on. And so one of the things that I talk to people about forgiveness as well is that is also kind of ties into one of the things that you said, is that forgiveness really isn't about the other person. Forgiveness is being able to let go of those emotions that are keeping you tied to the situation or to the person that you are feeling that forgiveness for. So we had a situation with someone who come back and said, well, you know what, like you've got all this spiritual growth things, that you have all these things that are going on, and like you really need to forgive me because I've changed. And it's like, I have forgiven you doesn't mean I want you back in my life, right? So just because I've forgiven you doesn't mean that you get to come back in and bombard my space and get into, because that's my boundary. But it doesn't mean that I haven't forgiven you. I've already cut those ties. I've already cut those strings that are attached from my heart that are no longer like the situation no longer has any control over me anymore. And so like that part there is just really, really important for people, so that just because you've forgiven someone doesn't mean you need to bring them back into your life.
No.
So that's something else that is, again, because that has to do with our boundaries, that has to do with the things that are going on for us. And so I think that that part there is like really important for us to be able to remember, is that and really ties in well to what it is that you're saying. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there for people that are going like, okay, well, Amilie and Rollie said that I have to forgive because it's good for me. And then you get right back into that dysfunction, right? So like if you've cut them out of your life because of that dysfunction, doesn't mean you need to bring them back into your life.
And
So
you need to protect yourself, and just, and it's
so,
for the right reasons, right? And not for, like you had mentioned earlier, not in a spiteful way.
yeah.
But then I also have, okay, so here's the little devil advocate inside of me, okay? So I have I call them the voices in my head. And so then the other part of me is like, well, then there's that, what if tomorrow, let's just say, he's gone, like, is it going to be something that I'm going to be able to live with, or not just to stay in that context, but it could be for any situation. So like, it's a difficult thing. And I think that the forgiveness really helps growing in that aspect of, you know what, that's, at the end of the day, that's a choice. Like, we all have a choice, and that's the
Yeah.
choice and the path that that person chose, or that situation went with, or that relationship went with. And then we just have to move forward. So yeah, there's always that little, but what if? But then
Yeah.
it's like, if you're always going to say it to yourself, but what if, then you're not going to grow.
Well, and that but what if is allows, because people do change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is that possibility that that person is going to be part of your growth because they're growing and they're shifting and they're changing. So there's nothing wrong with kind of stepping in and stepping out, but it's being able to still set those boundaries around them. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
around that situation,
I
around
like that.
how are you being able to, so you can step in and out of relationships without it being that, because we do need to, especially if these are people that are loved ones. So like you referred to your dad, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he is a loved one. He is somebody that you still care about despite whatever it is that's going on,
Of
that
course.
kind of thing. So, but being able to, and I've had relationships where, in my family where it's been very strained and very difficult, but they've made some growths, right? So being able to step into that, well, what if? So stepping in, but having very clear boundaries for me, and it's like, okay, no, this is safe. This is safe for me to be in. They have definitely made some changes that are working for me, because just because people have made changes doesn't mean that it's in your best interest anyway. And so, whereas other people will step in and out of those relationships. So just important for us to be able to do that dance with ourselves. Like, life changes, we change, we have
Yes.
changed, right? We are not
Yes.
the same people that so like, I'm definitely not the same person I was when I was 20.
Oh God, no.
And
No.
right, so like, we grow and we change, and being able to recognize that. And sometimes we've changed in some areas for the good, and sometimes not necessarily, and we've had to tweak things and shift things, and that kind of thing. So being able to figure out how to be able to make that balance. And so just really important for us to be able to have, be able to do that dance. And but one of the things that you said that was really, really, that I really wanted to kind of go back with in terms of relationships, is that relationship with yourself. Right? So that is something that, especially with women, and women really struggle with that relationship with themselves, is that if I decide that I'm going to go and do the retreat, or if I'm going to go and participate in this class weekly, or if I want to be able to do whatever, and they really struggle with that part of things of like, do I go, do I not go? But if it was something that their child wanted to attend, or their spouse wanted to attend, they're like, oh yeah, that's okay, right? So it's just really important. Apparently I've struck a nerve, right? So how do you
Yes.
address that with some of the people?
Okay, really, I completely feel this a lot, because for me, it's like, so my wellness is important as my children's. If not, okay, I don't want to sound like it is more important, but I feel that in a sense it kind of is. because I need to be able to lead them, right? And I need to be able to model them in a healthy way. But if I'm not healthy and if I'm not taking care of myself, I feel that these are my feelings and my opinions and my beliefs. I feel that I'm not able to give them the best version of myself if I'm not taking care of myself. And I see that a lot where like for some women, oh, I can't afford it. It's just like it's out of my budget. But then they're like going to the spa. And there's nothing wrong with going to the spa or getting your nails done or dyeing your hair, but like you can physically alter yourself to make yourself feel better, but you're not going to want to physically alter your inner self to make yourself grow on the outside, where you don't need all of those physical and material things to make you feel better on the outside, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, for me, it's just like investing in yourself is probably one of the biggest investment. And you're right, women are so afraid to do that because we always want to put everybody ahead. And that was what I struggled with a lot, is I always put my daughters, like at the time when I went through that postpartum, it was just my oldest daughter, and I was putting all of her needs ahead. My at the time husband, I was putting all his needs ahead and making sure he was scheduled with his workouts, and but then it was like, where's my time? Who am I? I didn't even know who I was because I had lost that sense of relationship with myself. So we have, as women, a lot of us women struggle with taking that time. And I really love what Oprah says, and I love her podcast. And she opens her podcast with, the most valuable thing you can give yourself is time. Time with yourself. And that to me resonates because we lack so much of giving us ourselves that time. And so one of the things that I did for myself, the first thing that I did for myself was I did a lot of nightly bath. And that was like, okay, so for half an hour, I would lock myself in the bathroom. I didn't need all the candles and all of that stuff. I just closed the light and I just laid there. And that was my quiet time. And then from there, it evolved and it started, created my office where I'm sitting in right now. And this was my space. And still is my space. Even when the girls are home, they know, like, when mommy comes in here, this is mommy's space. Mommy needs quiet time. We all need quiet time, just like children. We need our own form of timeouts, and just taking that time to gift and to invest in ourselves, in our inner self.
And that's huge, right? So like that, and I love, and again, there's another similarity that we have, and I'm just gonna, now that we're almost done, I'm gonna turn off my phone because I just got a ding, and I'm like, just in case it rings. But that, so there's another similarity, right? Like, so it was always about my boys, and everything that needed to happen was all about the boys, and especially after we had separated. And so it was, so one of the things that I had actually started doing was being able to jump in the tub. So whether it was for 5 minutes or, obviously I want longer, but as a single mom, that was not necessarily was not necessarily an option, but every night for 5 minutes. So just jumping into a nice hot bath was, because before my kids came along, I used to soak in the tub and read books for hours.
Yes.
Right? Turn on the hot water so that we could actually get some more hot water and stay in there and keep reading. Right? So, so then the boys came along and I just stopped. I stopped doing those things that was important for me. And because while I was single, that was something that I was able to do all the time. And, and when I was with their dad and before we had them, like, I had lots of time to be able to do that. And then they came along and they just kind of consumed everything. And so being able to take that 5 minutes, like now it's like I'm going into the bath. And so now it's a battle, because one of the things that I had taught my boys was being able to take that time and being able to soak in the tub. And I have one boy who still lives at home, and they're not boys. My boys are adults. And so, but one still lives here. And so, but he still has his bath. Like, so that was one of the things that I had taught him. And so like now it's a battle of like, okay, this is my bath time, get out.
Yeah.
So we actually have to battle for the bathroom sometimes. And so there are times when I'll be coming home from somewhere And I'll send a text and I'll say, by the way, I'm coming home to get the tub. So like, don't even think about it. Or periodically he'll send a message saying, okay, bathroom's mine when I get home. Right. So, but it's that being able to have and being able to create that space. And like you said, like initially that space, like now that's a lot of times when I get a lot of ideas, or I get a lot of, things that I want to be able to share, or things that I want to be able to say. So like, that's where I form most of my emails, is in my tub.
Yes.
Right. So like, that's the messages that I have for clients or whatever that I want to be able to get out. A lot of times that's when that's coming to me. It's either first thing in the morning, or when it's time for my bath. Like, that's when I'm like, I get these downloads of, oh, I want to be able to share this
Data
information.
download. I love those.
Right. So like, it's those different times of being able to connect with myself, because then I can really fully be myself in that bath. I'm a fire sign, so water is
Me
my
too.
grounding. Right. So water is my place to be able to kind of ground. And because we live in Northern Ontario, being around water 24/7 is obviously not something that we can do. But I love summer months when I can actually go and sit by the water. And again, that's when I can get some really great time for me, is just being able to just sit by running water, or sitting by the beach, having the water hit and so you have to compromise. So my bathtub is my other.
It's so cleansing.
That's my other part, right? So we have different teachings that talking about and how sacred that the water is, and how it's our responsibility. And so we need to be careful with it and how much that we use. And I really struggle with that part, because like that pouring a full bath of water is like, it's that waste of water, but it's that cleansing for me. So I need to be able to still do that. So I have that like inner struggle of being able to use my bath time. Someday I'll actually have a hot tub, so then I won't have to.
Sorry, I think I choked on my water. Again.
Right. So it's about being able to find those times that are actually really important for us, and really being able to connect with ourselves. So like Amilie and I are both water, doesn't mean that that is for you. It depends on what it is that's happening for you, and how that works for you, and that kind of thing. So, but
and
just
trying new things to identify those things, right? Like when you're putting yourself out there, you're only going to find out what are the things that are going to help you grow, or the things that you're going to really enjoy to do for yourself, and take that time for yourself.
Yeah. And it's just really important for you to be able to take that. And so like, that's why I really wanted to be able to kind of go back into that relationship with yourself. So yes, we have to have boundaries with other people, but we also have to have boundaries with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right. So like, what's good for us? And if something feels icky to us, then stop doing it.
Yes. And
right.
learn how to say no. And learning how to identify when do I say no to something that's going to take valuable things from you, or something that's going to drain you, or relationships that are going to drain you. So learning how to say no is taking care of yourself too.
Yeah. So, and those things are like really super important. So I can't believe that we have chatted for like, in 2 minutes, we'll have been on for an hour.
It's just such good energy. There's such a great vibe. I'm so enjoying this.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to be able to share that we haven't touched on in terms of your topic?
I think we pretty much, I wrote some notes down of things like I wanted to make sure to talk about, but we kind of chatted about it. It kind of weaved itself into our conversation, and I really love that. And I think that this is what made our conversation go so smoothly, and everything just flowed together. So I'm feeling complete. Thank you.
That is amazing. And so for those of you who are catching the replay, hashtag replay. And for those of you who are still on, because I do know that we still have some eyeballs on. The only one who's actually been verbal has been Pam. But we do have some other eyeballs that are still on. So if you guys have anything else that you guys want to be able to share, like, please give us some ideas of some of the things that you do for yourself in terms of being able to nourish that relationship. I'd love to know what are some of the things that you do to nourish yourself.
For sure.
In the description is that I do have links for you to be able to connect with Amilie. And so is there anything, Amilie, that you have that's coming up or that you are doing that you wanted to be able to share with?
Sure. Well, I usually hold the women's circles, so they shifted into the women's sacred gatherings, and they happen monthly. And I'm actually having the one this month, this Friday coming up, so May 24th,
Nice.
7 o'clock. And each gathering are held at Bodhi Tree, so it's very consistent. The location is consistent, and we try to keep it around the same time as the end of the month. So yeah, I have other projects that I'm going to be working on this summer, and I'm looking forward to seeing them grow. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I really, really enjoy this connection. It's been really amazing.
Well, and it has been, and I really enjoyed being able to do this. So, and you may not necessarily know this off the top of your head, but so will you be having a women's gathering on the 28th of June?
Well, I will have to check the calendar because what I do is I alternate between, so the weeks that I don't have the girls is the weeks
Okay.
that I call a business week. And then the weeks that the kids are home are family weeks. So I try to line it up. So if it lines up, then absolutely.
Okay, so I'll have to actually check because the 29th is when I'm coming to Timmins. And so
Right?
the 20th would be the Friday before. So and I'm going to be coming up that Friday anyway.
That'll be
And so
exciting.
so that would actually be really cool if I could actually show up at one of your circles. I'd actually have my mom with me because my mom's coming up for that weekend because we're going to spend some time with family as well when we're up there.
Mm.
And so I didn't realize when we had actually scheduled that it's actually the long weekend as well. So there's a
Oh,
lot of
right.
things going on in Timmins as well. So like really excited about some of the activities. So I actually get to
Awesome.
I get to have three. I was going to say two birds with one stone, but it's actually going to be three because I'm going to be able to do some community stuff as well as the workshop, but also spend some time with family. So,
That'd be
so
wonderful.
to doing that. So I'm hoping. I'll cross my fingers that it
I'm
is busy.
hoping we can connect. That would be amazing. Whether it's through Circle or your workshop, I am like very interested and I'm looking forward to meeting with you in person,
That
in
will
the
be really
flesh.
well, definitely. We will definitely connect in June. And so again, for anybody who's catching the replay, hashtag replay. I know that Carol hops on. I haven't seen her come on, but she usually, I know that she watches them and she hashtags replay typically, but I haven't seen any just in the last few weeks. But things have been just kind of a little bit chaotic because we haven't done Monday Whispers Chat on Mondays. This is for a couple of weeks now. Last Monday I was injured, so I wasn't able
Oh,
to
yeah, I
actually hop on.
saw.
And so we did it on Friday. And then and the week before, Facebook and Zoom were not playing nice. And so so then we just ended up doing it on Wednesday. So but that teaching that resilience, right? So like
That's
just kind
right.
of going with the flow. It's like, okay, Rollie, you're like too fixated on Monday Whispers Chat. We're gonna like switch it up on you a little bit. So and just kind of going with the flow and allowing myself to be that resilient is my plan. So, but I really enjoyed this. This worked really well. A couple of times I was playing around with some of the things. So a couple of times, if you actually go back and watch the replay, Amilie, is
Okay.
that I was actually able to during some of the things is like make it so that it's just you on the screen.
Oh,
So it's actually really cool. So it's actually because right now, for the most part, we've been like side by side. But when you were actually talking about some getting into a little bit more in depth, then I actually there's a button that says solo, so it made it so that you were actually on
that's
full
so
screen.
cool.
So I'm like, I think I like this program.
That's cool.
So I'm on a trial with it, but I seem to like it. It seems to be going really well. And so one of the things that I shared with Amilie as well is that it allows you to be able to have a broadcast of 4 people. I don't know who I'm going to have that I'm going to have 4 people on, but you never know. But it's actually really cool. I can actually switch it up so that I can actually put just an image, and so I can actually add
Oh,
it
I see
to.
two things now.
Yeah, so like I can actually have just, and then I can switch it up so that it's just my image, or like
Cool.
obviously I don't want to do just my image, um, but yeah, so I can actually, and then I can like get rid of it, and then we both come back on again. So it's actually kind of cool. I really
That's
like
neat.
this. So I think I may actually subscribe to it after we're done. So after the 2 weeks are finished. But I seem to like it. It comes on automatically because that was part of the problem. I didn't really know how that was going to work. But so thank you for all of you who were patient.
Yes.
And if you want to jump back on again at another time, Amilie, then please feel free to sign up again. Or if
Awesome.
you guys are catching the replay and you want to be able to share, you don't
Mm.
have to be a business person to be able to share. If there's a topic that you want to be able to talk about, like I don't ask you to talk about something specific. It's like you tell me, you book it, you tell me what it is that you want to be able to talk about, and it's all about being able to have that inspiration and inspiring women. And so
My
that is
fingers kind of like, I wasn't sure what I was going to pick as a topic. And it was like weird how like my fingers just like, this is what we need to talk about.
yeah. So and the conversation just flows, right?
That's
So like
right.
you don't
Yeah.
have anything. There's like other than the description that that the person who signs up puts out. I read that description. Sometimes I read it well. Sometimes my tongue is like, yeah, no, you're not speaking today. But for the most part, I read the description that they send me about who they are, and then the rest of the conversation is just flow. We just flow with the conversation. So Pam says a long bath. That's her thing. So
Yes, go Pam.
so I know where the three of us are going to be tonight.
Yes.
We're going to like connect energetically, the three of us. So, but just thank you so much, Amilie. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. I'm looking forward to getting to know you more, and really looking forward to meeting you in person in June. So even if it's just to meet up for coffee, I'm hoping that that we're going to be able to connect, and because I'm definitely coming down in June. And so thanks very much. I guess coming up, not coming down. Because yes. I'm going not south.
Coming up north.
So I'm going to. So I'm really looking forward to being able to connect with you. And again, thank you so much. And again, anybody who wants to be able to connect with Amilie, I've put some contact information about who she is. And if you are up in the Timmins area, then her circle is this Friday on the 24th. So so thanks again. And congratulations, not the right word, but thank you.
Thank you, Rollie, so much
for having congratulations, me. Right? So, and congratulations for all the changes and all the growth that you've been able to inspire with other women. So, thanks.
Thank you.